Welcome back to your weekly dose of nostalgia. This week, we are introduced to what may be one of the pettiest characters we've ever had. This is season 5, episode 8 of the Twilight Zone, Uncle Simon. I'm about to go check my parents' will right now. The episode begins with our main character, Barbara. And Barbara, this is Shirley. This dress, girl, when I think of home, I think of a place too. Could you be more homely? But it becomes clear that Barbara is the caretaker of someone named Uncle Simon, and she's like calling for him in the house. Well, Uncle Simon was not upstairs. He was actually downstairs. And the first words we hear from Uncle Simon is, "Garbage head." That's how he refers to Barbara. Then he goes on to say, "How's my wilting blossom doing today?" Now, y'all, I don't know much about advanced algebra or caretaking, but what I do know is that is 2 insults to the one person that's taking care of you, and you already have a very long flight of stairs that I saw. You got one more time before I trip. Mind you, the whole time, all White Dorothy from The Wiz is trying to do is make sure that this man has his hot chocolate, and he is just disrespectful to her the whole time. Yes, she dressed like Diana Ross in The Wiz. Her nickname is gonna be White Dorothy from The Wiz. Y'all are welcome. Uncle Simon goes on to tell her, "Look, baby, if you ever need me, I'm gonna be 2 places. Upstairs in my room or downstairs in my lab. And if I'm neither of those, it means I died en route." White Dorothy from The Wiz is like, "You're very funny. You should have gone into burlesque." This man looks her dead in the face and is like, "I would definitely be more comfortable there than you would." Read number 3. I'm gonna have to start counting. Now, I'm ashamed to say it, but I do think that insult number 4 may be my personal favorite, where he told her, "You the only woman that looks like clothes would be underneath your clothes." And here it's established that this household and their relationship is not healthy. He calls her a spineless vegetable. She calls him an ancient relic. It's a mess. So then he just straight up asks, "What have you done today besides make me hot chocolate? Because you seem to have no ambition, no skills. I'm just trying to understand why you're here." She goes, "As a matter of fact, I've been cleaning up after you all day with all the debris you've been leaving from your contraptions around here. And what is this?" And Uncle Simon immediately gets annoyed with her, even more annoyed than he typically is. He tells her, "Haven't I told you not to touch my stuff before? That's why I locked that door down to the laboratory." And baby, this is when I leaned in, because I said, "Why is the laboratory door locked?" Because at the end of the day, even with White Dorothy from The Wiz looking more homely than the main character from Misery and a Home Depot aisle put together, she is your caretaker, which means if you was to fall out in the laboratory with the door locked, now she can't get down there to you. And this is when I realized she don't mind that. And then we hear what Barbara is holding out for, but not until we hear yet another insult from Uncle Simon, where he says, "Go get me some hot chocolate, and if it's not hot enough, I'll throw it on the floor." Literally, he's a menace. So when White Dorothy from The Wiz is walking out, Uncle Simon looks and he says, "Why do you stay here?" All the insults after these 25 years of insults, baby, she needed to make him an apple arsenic pie. Hey, you know what? But it's a valid question. He asked, "Why do you stay here, Barbara?" And this look of satisfaction comes over Barbara's face as she says, "I live for the moment that I can see you buried, because I'm going to open up a bottle of wine and come back to this fortune and enjoy my life." Honestly, point Barbara. Like, that was a good read. Like, you see this? This is the face of someone who is playing the long game. Do y'all hear me? And she tells him straight up, "And I want to be compensated. I want the money, the property, all the things." Well, the irony is that I must have also been in the Twilight Zone, because me and Uncle Simon had the same thought, which is, you could have gotten rid of him years ago. He literally says it. He's been expecting her. Barbara's like, "No, I would actually like to enjoy your demise without the guilt. So I'll be right back with your arsenic-free hot chocolate, okay? You just wait right there." And as she's walking away, he's kind of looking at her like, Like, is this what you respect when she tells you that she don't want to kill you? In the next scene, Barbara sneaks downstairs and she reaches for the door right as Uncle Simon walks out of his laboratory and sees her. So Uncle Simon is like, "What are you doing down here?" She's like, "I was just trying to see where you..." And he's like, "No, you were just nosy and curious and wanted to see what's in here." And the next insult that he does is actually something that made me want to call the Adult Protective Services, not CPS, APS. He told this lady, "In fact, curiosity is one of the only character traits that you share with regular women." My God, today. Now, mind you, it's starting to piss me off because White Dorothy from the Wiz ain't that bad. You ain't got to drag her like that. All she need is potentially a good shampoo and conditioner in a Detroit salon where they still use Marcel's. White folks Google what a Marcel is. And then potentially a collagen mask, maybe a makeup class from the LGBTQ plus community. That's why I learned my makeup. Girl, that's all she need. Maybe a good Fenty bra and a dress from Hanifa. We could give her the, you know what? Give me her. But then White Dorothy from the Wiz, aka Homely Depot, said something that all of us have probably said to ourselves more than once this year, which is, why do beasts like y'all stay alive so long? Why do people who are the worst be 80, 90? Meanwhile, you know, can we just sit in that for just 2 seconds? Because goodness knows the wicked lives are lonely. My God, today. And Uncle Sam tells Homely Depot, I actually stay alive just to piss you off. Just because if I was to die, that's what you want. And this was not confirmed by any of the writers, but this next scene kind of makes me feel like Barbara was Uncle Simon's sister's daughter. Because the way that he treats her is not the way that a brother would treat another brother's daughter. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know what I'm saying? Also, she says she's the one that came there and nursed him and kept him alive when he was sick. That is the action of a daughter of a sister. I'm telling you right now, I can see this generational trauma at work. And be clear, this is more to the lore. Uncle Simon and Auntie Betty or Sister Betty were not cool. She was like, I'm gonna take that rich food for everything he got when he gone. And somehow Uncle Simon knew it, because he goes on to say, you only stayed here year after year because of greed. You didn't care about me. You just wanted to make sure that you had that money for whenever I croaked. Baby, they are going at it on this staircase. Quite literally, because he goes to hit her with his cane and says, you'll pay, you ugly harpy. And as he strikes her with the cane, she kind of grabs it so that it doesn't hit her, and he falls down the stairs. And after all that trash talk, the first thing he says is, Barbara, help me. And Homely Depot looks this man in his face and says, what's that? I can't. Christina's not hearing. That's a Tyler Perry reference for y'all that understand. She's like, what did you say? You want hot chocolate in the English bone china cup, the one that you're always asking for? That's what you said? Baby, I leaned in so much I almost chipped a tooth, because this woman got in his face and was like, don't die just this second, because I've been sowing for 25 years, but today I'm gonna reap. And this man dies. And I was like, Barbara! Baby, she goes upstairs and takes them shackles off her feet so she could praise, and throws them English bone teacups on the ground. Baby, she walks through that house flipping every table he owns, and she opens the curtain and says, hey world, I'm back. And I said, oh God. Because at this point I'm like, uh-oh, he was a little right. She was waiting for him to die. But it could be because of his treatment and not the money, right? Wrong. Because in the next scene, this is when we learn that everything does go to her. The money, the investments, the homes, the property, everything. As long as she stays in that house and cares for his experiments. And she's like, I don't even know what these experiments are. Well, the experiment is actually a robot that knows Barbara's name and says he will evolve over the next couple of days, and to just make sure you take care of him. Well, let me tell y'all something. Barbara done went to her nearest dealers and put on her Sunday's best. Do you hear me? You see how my girl got her hair done and her makeup done too? And right before she's about to go out, the robot asks for hot chocolate and starts to sound a little bit more like Uncle Simon. And after a few days, he also tells her to go close the windows. And this is when Barbara's like, no. So she pushes the robot down the stairs, period. But unfortunately, it only breaks his leg. And as each day goes by, the robot becomes more like Uncle Simon, spewing insults, telling her to do the same things, and eventually even making her call him uncle. But instead of Barbara leaving that house and finding a way on her own, she relies on that money and she lets greed take over her life. And as Rod Serling's self-acclaimed black play niece, I leave you with these words. When you allow greed to blind you to the mistreatment and hate towards humanity, the perpetuators eventually leave. But you gotta ask yourself, Why were you around to watch it in the first place? Guess you gotta find out in the Twilight Zone.